Oh, hello. So today I wanted to do a quick video. It's a teaser for something I'm working on, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So, as you know, I learned a lot about the Enneagram and the MBTI, and I put this very short presentation together to tell you about their differences and similarities. It's okay. So, their origins, and this is obviously the part where they're the most different. And let's start with the Enneagram on the left. There's a lot of discussion about where it came from and a lot of theories and good theories and ideas about where it came from. There's Greek influences from the Desert Fathers, and etc. But as a lot of people use it today in modern history, it was G.I. Gurdjieff, Oscar Chauzo, and Claudio Naranjo who really influenced the way we think about them and use them today for quote unquote personality and other things. And today there are various schools of thought that don't always agree, but it is good to know that there are different people with different thoughts about the Enneagram. So the MBTI is a little bit more clear. The original ideas come from Carl Gustav Jung, and his ideas were, um, let's say, adjusted to fit a more because Carl Jung was a psychiatrist, right? It was more he was concerned about a lot of things, but he worked with patients and such. And Myers-Briggs wanted to make it more widely available to people. So Catherine Briggs and Isabel Myers, who was a mother and daughter team, it's very important to know that they did not have any official training in psychology. And what they did is they came up with the MBTI, which stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which was a list of questions that helped determine what your quote unquote type was. And today we have the Center for Applications of Psychological Type and the Myers and Briggs Foundation, who kind of basically the go-to groups for the MBTI. So there are both models of psychology and more. The Enneagram, the way I look at it, I'm sure people will disagree, but this is after learning about them quite in detail and depth over years. The Enneagram talks more about why people do what they do, and the MBTI is more how people prefer to do what they do, how they how they chose to do what they do, whether they know it or not. The Enneagram is about the types are based on imbalances on the three different centers, as the theory goes: the instinctual center, the feeling center, and the thinking center. And each center has three types within them, and so you get 9 different types, with each of them have basic desires, fears, and motivations, which constitute a big component of the type. Uh, uh, yeah, and so the MBTI, I know people always think about the 16 types, but I would say more important are the 4 cognitive functions, basically intuition, sensing, thinking, feeling. And those 4 functions can be oriented extrovertedly or introvertedly, right? That's the E and I. And then the 4 functions can also be preferred to be done in a how they prefer to be used externally is J versus P. I'm not going to go into all the details, but essentially it gives you 16 types. And you can see that they're really different in terms of how they determine the type. So what they have in common is that the tests are not definitive, do not rely on any Enneagram or MBTI quote unquote test to tell you who you are. That is just nonsense. First off, I don't like calling them tests because that kind of implies you can pass or fail them. a lot of these are just are supposed to be help you get started. The Enneagram, a lot of different people make different ones. The MBTI, there's an official one from the CAPT and the Myers and Briggs Foundation that I talked about. So, how to determine your type? This is where it all, and that comes together, but this is where they have the similarities. They both, really how they determine your type. Self-awareness, doing the inner work, self-discovery, getting help from an expert, and maybe some sort of online quote-unquote test to get started. The tests, quote-unquote, is not the end, it's the beginning. So, a lot of people think incorrectly that both of these are static in terms of there's no room for development. But in fact, both models have a built-in development trajectory or part of the model. So Enneagram, there's these concepts called arrows, the levels of development, and instinctual variance. So it's not just about quote these 9 numbers. There's ways and room and orientations to grow that's part of the system. And MBTI, the point of the MBTI is to help you determine which functions are not working as well, what you need to develop. So if you know your 4 letters, if you really know them, you can determine your dominant function, your auxiliary function, or tertiary inferior function. Same way, if you know these 4 functions, actually, if you just know the top 2, then you know what your type is. And it's not about the type, the number, or the letters. It's about what it means. Okay, so how they're used, they're both used for personal growth, wellness, and development. They are, MBTI, as far as I know, it was being used a lot more before by businesses and corporations for team dynamics. But Enneagram apparently is growing more headway now and getting more well known in certain circles. They're both also useful for relationships and conflict management. So, in conclusion, they're both very useful. Best learned with an expert, very misunderstood, and often abused. And what else they have in common is that I'm pretty much I've learned a lot of both, and I work with both of them to help physicians with their personal development. And as you can see, this is on a Facebook, right? You can see my biography or my website. A lot of what I do is physician personal development, self-awareness, and gaining insight. And these are 2 tools I used to do that. And now the teaser, why this is a teaser, is that I am getting ready to launch a couple of programs, one for the MBTI, one for the Enneagram, to really go to a deep dive and learn more about yourself using them. And hopefully this gave you a very, very brief overview of what they look like, and I could talk ad nauseum about either one. And the other thing which I'm offering for just a little while, it's August 19th right now, probably until the end of the first week of September, is to do a video session with people to help them determine their type. And it'll be realistically no less than an hour. I think for maximum effect, 1 to 2 hours works the best. And we would, I'd love to help you out because this is something obviously I love doing. And I really think it'll help you out. And especially for physicians, because physicians are not taught how to know themselves, how to live meaningfully, and really figure out how to get the most out of life. So that's really what I focus on, and I hope that this was a helped you to understand the difference between both, that's not an entire workshop or weekend. All right, and that's the end. End the slideshow. Click to exit for you and for me. Bye bye.